We evoke your name, Avalokiteshvara. We aspire to learn your way of listening in order to help relieve the suffering of the world. You know how to listen in order to understand. We evoke your name in order to practice listening with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will sit and listen without any prejudice. We will sit and listen without judging or reacting. We will sit and listen in order to understand. We will sit and listen so attentively that we will be able to hear what the other person is saying and also what is being left unsaid. We know that just by listening deeply, we already alleviate a great deal of pain and suffering in the other person. We evoke your name, Manjushri. We aspire to learn your way, which is to be still and to look deeply into the heart of things and into the hearts of people. We will look with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will look with unprejudiced eyes. We will look without judging or reacting. We will look deeply so that we will be able to see and understand the roots of suffering and the impermanent and selfless nature of all that is. We will practice your way of using the sword of understanding to cut through the bonds of suffering, thus freeing ourselves and other species. We evoke your name, Samantabhadra. We aspire to practice your vow to act with the eyes and heart of compassion, to bring joy to one person in the morning and to ease the pain of one person in the afternoon. We know that the happiness of others is our own happiness, and we aspire to practice joy on the path of service. We know that every word, every look, every action, and every smile can bring happiness to others. We know that if we practice wholeheartedly, we ourselves may become an inexhaustible source of peace and joy for our loved ones and for all species. We evoke your name, Kishitgarbha. We aspire to learn your way of being present where there is darkness, suffering, oppression, and despair, so we can bring light, hope, relief, and liberation to those places. We are determined not to forget about or abandon those in desperate situations. We will do our best to establish contact with those who cannot find a way out of their suffering, with those cries for help, justice, equality, and human rights are not being heard. We know that hell can be found in many places on earth. We will do our best not to contribute to creating more hells on earth, and we will help transform the hells that already exist. We will practice in order to realize the qualities of perseverance and stability, so that, like the earth, we can always be supportive and faithful to those in need. We evoke your name, Saraprata Bhuta. We aspire to learn your way of looking deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination in order to see the true qualities of others. Whenever you meet anyone, you bow respectfully and say in appreciation, "I respect you deeply. You are a future Buddha." We vow to look deeply into ourselves and recognize the positive qualities that are there, to accept and love ourselves. We vow only to water positive seeds in ourselves and in those around us. By doing so, our thoughts, words, and deeds will give rise to self-confidence and acceptance of ourselves, our children, grandchildren, and all those we know. We vow to look deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination, to see that the joy and success of the other person is also our joy and success. We vow to behave and to speak with humility and respect. We vow to practice loving speech to help people to underestimate themselves, to see that they are wonders of the universe. We know that only when we are able to transcend the barriers of a separate self shall we be able to transform the superiority, inferiority, and equality complexes and realize true happiness and freedom. We now ask that together we practice mindful silence until the beginning of the service.
At this time, I'd like to invite our incense lighters up to the front. And if the rest of us could turn to page 2, right in the center of the page, we have our incense lighting gatha, and I'd like to say it together. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Sun Shin. I use they, them pronouns. And before I say anything, and since I have a mic in front of you, um, I just want to offer some gratitude for this space. As many of you know, I am trans, non binary, and Mexican. And I'm very grateful that we have a space here that not only serves as a refuge for many people who are going through some hard times right now, but also a place that celebrates these people. And at least in my case here, also, is willing to put these people in a place of leadership. So I want to offer a deep bow for this entire community for that. Thank you. I do have some courtesy announcements before we start. Um, if for any reason you need to step aside, there is a space downstairs, right past the Bodhi Dharma and through the curtains downstairs. There's an extra bathroom down there. There's some water fountains. There's some toys, some chairs. So for any reason you need to step out, feel free. Also, as people shuffle in, if we need to kind of scoot or make some room for any large groups of people, just be aware of who's coming in. And also, I want to remind everybody that if you do need to get up, just try not to cross in front of the dais, just out of respect for the temple space. And in addition to the bathroom downstairs, also, if you go through those curtains there, we have 2 restrooms over there as well. So, with that, why don't we all stand and silently greet each other? And if we could turn to page 3, we'll be starting with our refuge chants together. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And if we turn to the next page, we'll be doing the Heart Sutra together.
Dhamma Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna paramita perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, and emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight, no realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering. No cease from suffering. No path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna paramita is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Prajna, paramita, hridaya, sutra.
Thank you. You can be seated. Probably doesn't need a lot of introduction because I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Shinkyu. But I'm honored and glad that they're here again. Shinkyu is one of my Dharma siblings. We took our vows together and have sat many hours together. And it really warms my heart that they're back, even just for a little bit of time. So please give them a warm welcome. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. I am Shinkyu, Brian Coté. I guess I was one of the official teachers here at the temple. Now I'm sort of adjunct faculty or something like that. Excuse me, yes. Speaking of taking our vows together, Sonshin and I took our home leaving vows together last February. And I ended up leaving my job, giving up my apartment, leaving my family behind. Well, my mom and dad are old, and my son's in his 20s. So, and heading out to Nebraska, to the Zen Center there to train as their resident priest for, I didn't really know. 6 months is what I told them. It ended up being 8 months. I probably would have stayed longer, but I'm going off to the monastery here in a little bit, which I'll probably talk about in the talk. But yeah, I've been running the Nebraska Zen Center, the Heartland Temple, for the last 8 months, doing their meditation and outreach and cleaning the bathrooms and making sure everything's stocked in the kitchen and all that. And people sometimes like to ask, like, what is that even like, running a Zen Center? And it's kind of like putting on a play every single week where you're the director. However, you are also writing the main monologue new every single week as well. I get a little bit of help, though, from my training teacher, Daishin, who comes in from Iowa. But it's everything focuses around the Sunday service, right? Everything you do throughout the week kind of leads up to that moment. It's almost as if after this service, I just went upstairs and took a nap, and then later on went downstairs and then made lunch, and then got on an email and started emailing about stuff with the temple, and then preparing all the different types of meditation and programming that would go on throughout the week. So this is part of a larger framework that exists in Zen and Buddhism from the very beginning. In English, we call it a pilgrimage, and in Zen, we call it an Angya. I'll get into more of that. But this practice of home leaving goes all the way back to the very beginning. The names of the monks in Pali, the original language that the Buddha spoke, one of them, the most common one, is bhikkhu, which means someone who begs or someone who lives by alms. So someone that literally goes door to door and asks for food because they don't work. They have to be fed by the community. Another one is pabajita, which literally means someone who has left home. So they've left their home, wander around following the Buddha, begging for their food. And the third most common is shravaka, which is someone that just listens to the teachings of the Buddha. So it's the idea that you leave home, join the community, the sangha, which literally also means going together, like you're moving along together, which they literally did. They would wander from place to place, begging for food, listening to the teachings of the Buddha, giving teachings to the community in order to receive, their sustenance. So this practice was passed on to China, passed on to Japan, passed on to America, and each time it entered a country, it changed a little bit. It adapted to the circumstances that existed in that particular country. So at the very beginning, in the time of the Buddha, you had, they call it the fourfold Sangha. So it's men and women, householders, and people just work regular jobs, and then monastics, people have left home. And they were like, householders were here, monastics were here, and they did not meet. You could, leave the Sangha or the monastic Sangha and become a householder again, or you could leave the householder life and become a monk, but there was no meshing. They were very distinct. However, in the West, by the time it's come to us, it's more like this. There's this mushy center. I'm like somewhere on this side. Is like I'm a monastic, yes, but I still have a car. I'm still have a family, a car for now. We'll see how long it lasts. Goes the way of all things, right? So in the West here, some people never leave home. Even when people live in the monastery, sometimes they have families, they have husbands, they have wives, they have partners, they own things. Sometimes they have jobs outside of the monastery in addition to their monastic duties. So it's different here. It's it's more of a spectrum than it's these two polar opposites. So I ended up taking it more literally, I suppose, and leaving the householder life behind mostly, right? And have gone on what we call pilgrimage. We have this English word. It's not quite a perfect fit for what it means in Zen or in Buddhism, because a pilgrim literally means a foreigner, someone who would leave their home and go to a foreign land, to a holy site, and visit it. In Japanese, Angya means walking or going by foot. It's literally just what the Buddha was doing, is walking by foot, place to place, place to place. Not with the idea that there's these holy places that we go, but that we are studying the holy place. If there is one, it's like right here, right? We're studying ourselves wherever we are. That's our object of study. That's what we're trying to figure out our own suffering so that we can take that knowledge out into the community, trade it for food, right? So you can live, for clothing. Even at the temple, I was basically living on the alms of the community. They were paying me in order to be able to buy my own food, right? So these practices still kind of continue on in certain ways. In the pilgrimage, and specifically in the Chinese tradition from which Zen arises, it divides the year up in a very specific structure, right? So the first 3 months of the year, you're literally walking around trying to figure out what monastery I'm going to spend the next 3 months in. My 3-month wandering ended up being 8 months for various reasons. But the next 3 months, when you finally do decide on a monastery, they call that an Ango. So it's Angya, which is wandering around, and then the Ango. Ango sounds nice. It means tranquil shelter. But the full version is Kese Ango, which means tranquil shelter bound by rules. So when you go into the monastery, it's basically a 3-month intense meditation retreat where you take on much more stricter set of rules. Your day from like 5 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. is structured. You know exactly what you'll be doing at any given moment. Probably going to be meditation, although sometimes there's cleaning, cooking, studying, various types. A little bit of rest. You do get the rest at certain times, so that's nice. So you've got your first 3 months where you're wandering around. You've got your next 3 months where you're at the monastery practicing meditation. And then you have another 3 months where you're walking around again, trying to figure out where you're going to spend your next 3 months. So it's this rotation that just kind of goes. And you see that, and if you look at any koan stories from way back in the day, you'll often see monks that just seem like they're wandering around. You're like, what are they actually doing? They're just like meeting another monk on the road. They're most likely wandering from monastery to monastery, trying to find out where they're going to stay. They'll have these interviews with the students and the masters. That's the student and the master trying to see if they're going to be a good fit for one another for the next 4 months. Like, is this old guy have anything to teach me? The old guy is like, is this young guy, is he going to actually be able to listen to what I'm going to say? Kind of feeling each other out. So really the main idea about that, it's the 3 takeaways from this whole process of Angya, of Zen pilgrimage is, you're leaving home, leaving that part of your life behind so you can focus on meditation, serving the community, because you're never really divorced from the community. Even when you're in the midst of an Ango, temple life is still going on. The lay sangha is still coming into the temple. You're having services. You're having Sunday services. Um, People are asking questions. Their lives are either falling apart or going well. And you're talking with them and trying to, it's help giving them the teachings, right? And they're giving you their own teachings. So you're never fully divorced from lay life. And the meditation aspect, studying yourself. That's the main part of the Ango and the Angya, is you're trying to get away from, call it the dusty world, from all the various obligations that you have with just your regular life, and really just seeing what the heck's going on in this body and mind. Like when things are very subtle, when you don't have to worry about paying rent, when you don't have to worry about, well, I say if your kid's sick, but a lot of the monks like myself also still have family. So you're, like I said, never fully divorced from the lay life. But the idea is to really focus in laser sharp on what's going on in here. So in that regard, I can talk about my experiences in the first 3 months. So I haven't gone to the monastery yet. That'll be February 3rd. I'm supposed to fly out like an old school monk. I don't go by foot. We go by airplane, and then car, taxi, Uber. There will be walking at some point, but the airplane is the main one. So we'll see. So my time at Nebraska. So my typical day or my typical week would be, wake up at 4:30 or 5 a.m., do an hour to an hour and a half's worth of meditation every morning, Monday through Friday, and then a short service, lots of short services in Zen. And then, Wednesday night we would do another hour and a half in the evening, so it'd be like 3 hours of meditation that day. We have Sunday service, and then once a month you would have either an intro to Zen class, which would last about 3 hours, and then the next month on one Saturday it would be an 8-hour, called Zazen Kai, which is a meditation intensive. And then every third month we do a sesshin, which is like a little meditation intensive. Friday 8 hours, Saturday 16 hours, Sunday about 6 to 8 hours. Not all 16 hours is meditation. Only about 9.5 of those hours are meditation. So by the end of your 9.5 hours, at like about 9 p.m. on a Saturday, you're learning a lot about yourself and dealing with both physical pain and mental pain. When the Japanese were there one time, so I sat on the mat the entire time. Normally, I would kind of sit in a chair a little bit, but Japanese are here. They want to see how our Soto Zen is going. So I'm like, ugh! I'm sitting on the mat the whole time. So by the end of that day, it was the strangest experience. You're watching yourself sit this way. And I remember about 8 p.m. at night, I just was in the zone. This like, whoa, floating 3 feet off the cushion. And then all of a sudden, I kind of looked at my body and felt my legs were just like on fire. There's an old Zen saying called the lotus blooms in the fire. And that was the lotus blooming in the fire, because I was so calm and at peace, but objectively, everything was just screaming in pain. They're like, get up, this all hurts. So there's something to also be said to pay attention to yourself when you're in meditation, because sometimes you can get so deep into it, you don't realize what you're doing to yourself. So I probably should have been sitting in a chair at that point. But yeah, you get into, so I talked about my job. I don't know how many people remember. I worked at Gentex as a factory for about 19 years before I took my home leaving vows. And for the first year, I worked on the line, picking parts up, boop, looking at them, boop, looking at them. And for the last year, they put me back on the lines. And as an old man, just, everything hurts, everything hurts. And in between, did basically anything and everything you could do that didn't require an engineering degree. And the job, like, hurt my mind, it hurt my body, and it was, I didn't realize like how much we take the dusty world around with us, right? when I first got to the temple, my training teacher, so we've got different teachers, right? I've got Shuji's my main teacher. We probably call her root teacher in the Tibetan tradition. She's the one that gave me the precepts, the Jukai, lay entrustment when I became a lay teacher, and then also my home leaving vows. But when you go off onto the pilgrimage, you meet other teachers. So I have a training teacher, Daishin, who was kind of advising me while I was at the temple. And he said, Shinkyu, it's going to take you about 3 months before your body gets used to this monastic schedule. I'm like, yeah, I've been meditating for 20 years, Daishin. I'm like, come on, is it really going to take that long? So what I discovered was that my body was basically kind of like a pop bottle. You're just shaking up for 19 years straight. And then when I get into the temple, it's like putting it on the counter. And you look at the pop bottle from the outside and you're like, looks like a normal old pop bottle until you open it up, right? And there's a lot of stuff going on inside of that pop bottle. That was kind of what was my body was like. My body had been so just beat up by this job. I couldn't eat dairy. I couldn't eat gluten. And when I finally sat, my stomach was like, was still kind of in this go, like loud, couldn't digest things properly. It was crazy. I was like, do I have to go to the doctor? What is going on with my body and my mind? But over the course of the 3 months of just sitting there studying it and, staring at the wall for a couple hours a day, the stress did actually kind of leach out of left my body, flowed out of it. So I remember 3 months and 1 week after I started, I was sitting on the mat, just looking at the wall, and I stayed awake the entire hour and a half, and my mind was clear, and my body didn't hurt. I'm like, holy smokes, Daishin was right. It really did take like 3 full months before I could feel like I was sitting zazen. That wasn't just like I was being punched by a phantom hand from behind. And then, at that point, it kind of unlocked a new type of studying the self. So I was able to sit for like the next it was another 4 months. And at the end of those 4 months, I remember being like, I feel like really good. And I don't think I'm upset about work or anything, right? And in between, there's all these very strange experiences that you would have. Like I remember sometimes you'd be sitting there at peace, and all of a sudden anger will rise up in your body and your mind. And it's almost this feeling that's like, hey, what about me? Let's get angry at something. Remember when we used to get angry at everything? I'm like, I do remember getting angry at everything. But the practice of Zazen, it's not trying to get to a particular state of mind, but it's enacting a method. And the method is not holding anything that rises up, thoughts, feeling, sensations, ideas. Don't hold on to them. Don't try to push them away, and don't try to ignore them, which just leaves looking at them, acknowledging them. So the anger comes up and it wants to be fed with your attention. It wants to be fed with your anger. That's that karma. It's like, let's get mad about it. And you see it. I see that you're angry, and I understand. we together have been there. But if you don't feed it your attention and those emotions that it wants to keep enacting, it will just blow away into emptiness, right? And that's kind of what the whole journey is. All these difficult emotions, also pleasant emotions. There was time where we did a 5-day session, so it's like 3 16-hour days and 2 8-hour days of meditation. And by the third day, I wanted to jump up off the mat and run around the zendo and scream from joy, because I've never been so relaxed in my life. And then it flipped to so much energy. I was like, ah! I didn't. But it was very difficult to deal with that amount of energy that just appeared out of nowhere, right? And you do the same thing you do with the anger. You just look at it and you let it. Like, I understand why we're like this, but we can't act on this right now, right? We have to enact skillful ways of dealing with our emotions that we have. Our difficult emotions, our not difficult emotions, anything that really comes up, right? This is the training that we enact when we're sitting on the cushion. We're just looking at these things that rise up, our emotions, ideas, thoughts, right? Difficult situations, difficult people that we know from our life. We see them, we acknowledge them, and we don't give them what they want, right? We do the practice. We just let them go off into the emptiness. So I've talked long enough. Let me finish this up real quick. So yeah, this whole journey has been that. And when you are able to progressively let go of these unskillful habits and difficult feelings that you have, it's like pulling off layers of karma, layers of habitual action, and finding out that there's this peace underneath that's always been there, and it's pure, clear spaciousness. That it's like a sky, right? That just goes on forever, and these difficult things will pop up every now and then. You just push them away so the spaciousness returns. So, thank you. Trade places? Oh, sure. When does it stop? Oh, try to be on time. Like a 10-2, 15-2? 15-2? Okay. So, in that regard, as you said, so the Zen method is really, to sit like you are a Buddha. Sit like you mean it. If you're like, we're not really Buddhas, right? He's just saying that. It's not really true, but it is true. You are all Buddhas. And to sit with a straight back, as straight as you can get, you can even lie down. It doesn't matter. You can stand and meditate, but you sit upright like a Buddha. And if you're Japanese, the Japanese monastery, you never move. But here, if you got a scratch on your nose, feel free to scratch it or whatever. Right? And whatever comes up, just greet it. And maybe sometimes you have to give it some love, like I understand, but let whatever comes up go, right? And if it just keeps coming back, just keep greeting it and giving it more love, and at some point it will go away.
Thank you, Shinkyu. Now I'd like to open up the floor a little bit in case we have any joys and concerns. And we'll have a mic floating around. So if you can just raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to say.
Hello, I'm Andrew Witter, and I had a concern that has turned into a joy. I had a squirrel trapped in my attic, and I was very concerned that I was going to die up there. And I trapped it in a live trap, and it's alive outside now.
Good morning, Sangha. Just like to express my gratitude for the community here in these uncertain times. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna. January marks the beginning of 4 years that I've been coming to the temple. And I had been wanting to come for many, many years before that. And it just never really clicked with me until that point. And I'm so grateful that I have found this place and this path for myself. I'm happy. I'm able to handle the weird things that happen in life a lot better than I used to. And Sun Chin, I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm always happy to see you and to hear from you. So thank you.
Good morning. I have a couple of joys. First of all, I just love this community, and I'm really grateful to be here and to have found this community. And just grateful for everybody's perspective and just everything. And then also, I'm a licensed vet tech, and if anybody knows anything about that, I'm basically an animal nurse, but we don't make much. So I've been doing side gigs for a while now, and it's just not really working out. But I found a new side gig, and I'm a pet sitter now, and so I get to work with animals as my side gig too, which is really fun. And I already got my first client, and I'm staying at his house this weekend. And he's just a very kind guy, providing for me, and his animals are just amazing and so much better behaved than my animals, which I know is my fault. But it's going so well, and I'm just very grateful, and already kind of looking ahead. We'll probably have some more clients soon. So just really grateful for that, and grateful I get to spend more time with animals in a non-healthcare setting. It's kind of nice. So yeah.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Shane, or Dueshinsu. It's my Dharma name. Very grateful to be back. It's the first time I've been here since New Year, so Happy New Year, everyone. Also grateful to see Shinkyu again in person. Very great talk. And I'm grateful to be able to give a ride and help out a brother in recovery today. So, yeah, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kate, and on Saturday, my husband and I will be celebrating our 61st wedding anniversary. So it's been 61 years of almost wedded bliss.
Good morning, Sangha. I have a joy to share. Lately, I've been looking for a new job, and the process has been pretty difficult to get a new job. But I'm still being hopeful about any opportunities that come my way. And I'll be very grateful for the next job that I get. So I'm looking at it from a more positive perspective.
Hello, my name is Emily. This is my first time here in person at the temple, so found joy in being welcomed here today. I've had a lot of joys in my life recently, which has just been wonderful. Recently moved into my first proper apartment out of my parents' house. So that's been so wonderful. I found a lot of joy in my work. I work at Sanford. I'm in direct care staff in the residential SUD units. I love my clients and I'm so proud of them for everything they accomplish while under my care. I found joy in recently being asked on a date by somebody I feel very connected to. Yeah, thank you for welcoming me here today.
Morning, Sangha. I've been here for about a year, been coming for about a year, and decided to come to the all-day retreat yesterday, and that was just absolutely amazing. It's not quite 16 hours of meditation every day for 9 months, but no. But I felt like I got a glimmer of that, and I was just very grateful for that opportunity.
Good morning, Sangha. I am Tyrone, strictly Tyrone, and I have great joy today. Today is going to be my last day living in Michigan. I came here years ago, and I went in the basement, and I was a drug addict. Today, not exactly today, but I can calculate that I am sober for 2 years now. And all the days I went over to Garfield Park and I went up on college and that was my exposure. And discovering this this path has just been amazing for me. You know, I appreciate you here today. I got married in August, and for the first time in my life, I got 2 wives, but I now have a husband. And it's took 51 years to even be able to say something like that out loud, you know. And so constantly battling with that and then becoming a drug addict, it was like somehow I needed to find peace and enlightenment. And I found that coming here. And so it's a bittersweet moment. Just sold my car, so I'm getting close to where I head to Florida. I've lived in 2 years of recovery. I've been in drug treatments and gave up everything. And I've spent the last year living in a motel in Grand Haven. And now I'm in Norton Shores. And I say that to say that upon arrival on February 1st, I'm going to have a condominium in Lauderhill, Florida. And I've got great joy for that. I really do. I thank you guys for being here.
Good morning. My name is Bryn. I'd like to share a concern of mine. I have been working for almost a year now with young children on the spectrum. And this last week was a very challenging week because one of my clients is going through a regression, and she's very young, and her behaviors include self-injurious behaviors. And so she's been going through a very difficult week. And this was kind of the most upset I had ever seen her. And it was also the first time I ever had to physically restrain her for the safety of her and for others. And it was something that, although I know it's for her safety and for our safety, knowing that she was coming from such a place of pain and frustration, it's just hard because she doesn't have, the ability to express her feelings. She's nonverbal, so she's unable to communicate them. And although I get better at learning her body cues and trying to make her as comfortable and safe as and happy as possible, because that's my ultimate goal for her. It was just really tricky to see her, you know, especially after coming out of such a good spot of not having any behaviors, just kind of take not steps back, but just yeah, it was just a lot to handle to see her like so sad and frustrated, and knowing that there was nothing I could really do in the time except to try to keep her as safe and comfortable as possible. Thank you.
I'm a Paya, and I have a joy and a concern. Recently moved my father, who has dementia, from independent living into a nursing home. So it's been a long and difficult process, but I'm glad that he's finally getting the care that he needs.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Atano Nato. My concern is last week a coworker, her daughter passed away, 48 years old. And I know my coworker, she's struggling. She works in a different part, so I don't see her a whole lot, but definitely struggling. But I just want to ask everyone to hold some space for her in her healing and recovery. So thank you.
I am Ananda Pulabhava. So yesterday I woke up and I'm the morning Gatha. Waking up, I smile, right? And it was more like waking up, this is stupid. You know, and it's just, I had this like inner critic and doubt just continuing for like an hour, doing my prayers and just not feeling it, trying affirmations, not feeling it. I'm like trying to do everything I can. And I'm just really in a negative state of being, you know, and finally I just stopped and gave myself permission to just feel the negativity. And for like 2 minutes, you know, Craig, you have permission to feel this way, to be this way. And I tell you, like, I got up, took a shower, and like within 2 minutes, man, I was just radiating joy. Like it was it was like an hour of critic, and then just like acknowledging it and owning it. And then I was just like radiating joy. I took a 3-hour walk in the sun, like looking at the squirrels and the birds. It was super exciting. It was a grateful, joyful day. That's all I have.
I just want to say, yeah, it's been a long time since I've been here. I probably could have said it during my talk, but it seems like the appropriate time to have a joy of being back here for at least a little bit. I'll try to be back next week too, I believe, just to visit. But yeah, what a wonderful, wonderful community. It's so much love and joy and hopefully peace and compassion is the big one that I get from everybody. I might have forgotten. I remember I like that place, but why don't I like it so much? Oh, that's right. Okay. I do remember. Yes, this is wonderful. Everyone here. Wow. What a wonderful time to be back and to see everybody again. Thank you for being so welcoming and being who you are. Thank you.
We got one from online. Nasanskara says, if you are able, we would greatly appreciate any offerings of goodwill and merit for my mother, who is transitioning out of this worldly state and into the next. We are with her now and appreciate the Sangha's support. Gratitude and deep bows. Nasanskara.
Well, if that's all, why don't we take a couple of moments just to kind of hold it all in, okay? Thank you so much. I have a couple quick announcements that I'm going to try to run through. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yep. Sorry about that. This is a joy from Amy. She said, I officially signed intent to adopt paperwork on my 2 foster children. So we are so excited to be moving towards adoption. So,
Happy
something
for you,
good to finish it off on.
So we do have a couple groups that meet here throughout the week that I just wanted to kind of point out to everybody. On Wednesdays, we have an online meditation group that meets from 6 to 6:45 p.m. On Zoom, and that is led by Kunga. And you can also see our newsletter for more information. And if you're not, I guess, registered to receive our newsletter, I would suggest doing so because you can get a lot of information through that as well. We also have a Dharma discussion group that meets on Thursdays from 9:30 to 11 a.m. here at the temple, and that is ran by Jingsu. We have an Avatsamka Sutra study group that meets every other week, 7 to 9 p.m., and they currently meet on Discord. So we also have our, that already happened, so I won't talk about it. We do have an ongoing 7-limb practice online group meditation class led by Ige-su. And that's from 7:45 to 8:15 p.m. on Zoom, and that goes through the end of the month. We also have our Buddhist-based recovery meetings that meet Mondays, 6:30 p.m. Here at the temple, Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. at the Alano Club, and Fridays at 10:05 a.m., and that is either at the temple or through Zoom. Do we have any other announcements that need to be said? Oh, that's right. I think I'm giving the talk, maybe. So next week we have the Parinirvana Day, which is the commemorating the last day of the physical Buddha on Earth, and we'll be having a potluck. So we ask that if you are able to, if you can bring a dish, if you can, maybe mark the ingredients just so people who have different dietary needs or restrictions can just clearly see what's there, and hopefully we'll have a good time. Anything else? No? Cool. I do also want to let you know that as we're leaving today, if you could leave the temple as you found it and just make sure that our cushions are, for the most part, all squared away, and there'll be people collecting our pamphlets at the end too, so just make sure that those all get there. And we'll also be meeting briefly downstairs for some tea and discussions, or if you have any questions for either of us, want to check out our library, that'll all be available downstairs after the service. So with that, why don't we stand for our closing gathas, and you can find those on page 6.